Let's light it up. All right, here we are, 7:02.
Okay.
Beautiful
Not really your eyes.
Christmas Village of Lions Bay on December the 3rd. Call to order. I have a ton of stuff for the adoption of the agenda and changes, so we can go, I'm sure everybody else does too.
Not me.
Well, I'll take your time then.
Thought you were anything from the IC committee.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right,
What I
well,
was doing last night.
I've got, all right. Why don't I go first, and then we'll do the stuff. So just as a technical question, CAO, there's some correspondence that was missing in the correspondence pieces that weren't recorded on the face page. I'm sure my worthy colleague picked that up too.
There was stuff in the correspondence that wasn't on the table of contents.
Yeah, on the template. Okay, so we'll do that at the time then. You've got that too?
No.
Okay, so there we go. So the next one is.
Is it okay actually if we pause and I grab a nice binder for him?
It's okay.
Are you
I'm
sure?
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, so if I could, I'm so many notes here, sorry to do this to you. So if on reports, staff, so 1, 2, 3, could I get the Public Works Manager just to give a tiny update on the KG plants? And so that would be number 3. Item number 4 would be the Ocean View Road engineering study, where we are with that. And number 5 is potential infrastructure committee article regarding water. Guess that'll be an interactive part. The next one, which would be 5, 6, is the LGMA exchange. There's so many. Item number 7 is Anmore cell tower revenue. And number 8 is cell tower timetable. That takes care of the staff stuff. And I'll ask the question when we get to that.
Sorry, 8 again was?
5,
Cell
6,
tower.
7, 8. Cell tower
Timetable.
timetable. Thank you. And on the reports, B, Mayor, we can have number 1 at the Mayor's Council and RCMP. Number 2 is MLA Sturdy. Number 3, Dear to Pam's Heart, is titled Pianos.
Sorry, you get sorry.
Sorry, number 2 is MLA Sturdy. Number 3 is Pianos.
Slower tempo.
Number 4 is Metro Wood Apparatus. Councillor Bain, under committees, I've got committees. 1 is IC.
Sorry, under council or under committees? Under committees, I take it.
Committees,
Yeah.
I think. And I think that's it. Under new business, sorry, keep going here. Number 1 is, kills me, exercise circuit budget. And the second item is December 17th meeting. And that would be a full plate load for me. Anybody else?
My additions come under what you've already stated under committees IC.
Okay. And you've got one?
I think we're covered.
You're covered there on the same topic, okay. And Councillor Abbott, I forget if you were sneaking in there with something or not. Can't remember whether it was last night or not, or you got.
He's got part of the IC.
Oh, you
as
got
well.
part of it too, so you,
Yeah.
group effort here?
Yep.
Done. Right, yes, oh, and then there's your changes.
I have a fee bylaw amendments on table.
So the one that we're.
Yeah,
looking
so
at?
we're looking at third reading, but there's some recommended
Okay.
amendments for third reading.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll have an extra ground for closing, but we can do that when we get there, I guess.
Okay, what ground? Okay, grounds. Ready? Are you good?
I think so, just give me half a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Sorry,
Good.
under closing, are we having the staff review topic under closing?
Yes.
That's the extra rounds, okay.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet, but it's going to be.
So you're asking staff to do something in closed, does it require a ground for closing that isn't listed somewhere?
Just a quick key, it would be personnel. The personnel one's missing, that's what we're looking for.
Is it covered under labor relations and other employee relations?
Employee relations is fine. Good.
Alright.
You fine with that, Councillor Abbott?
Sure.
Done. Thank you. Oh, I guess we should make sure I add that too. Hang on, reasonably going. Okay. Okay. All right, any other changes? Nope. All in favor? Going, done, approved. Good. Public participation? There being none. Public delegations? There being none. Review and approval of prior minutes on page 5. And I had no changes. No, I did not, although I put them after. Councillor Abbott?
There's one change in a couple of matters around, I guess.
Page-
One change on page 12 of 104, correspondence, list of correspondence to, that should be November 19.
Sorry, you said page 12?
Page 12 of 104,
Yep.
number 11. Correspondence, a list of correspondence to, is that not November 19, which is the previous council meeting?
It usually gets cut off prior to be posted.
Ah, gotcha, that's the Friday before the correspondence got cut
Yeah.
off.
There's a deadline.
We're good? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Anybody? Any other changes? Councillor Abbott? Going. Okay, motion to accept the minutes. Second, all in favor? Good. Business Horizon, I have one, which is page 7 of 104, if I got the numbering right, which was the Harvey Cell Tower that the CAO was going to come back with with review options, and maybe it's not time yet. We can push that off.
Yeah, no, I thought that would come back with all of the feedback and the options for council to deal with all of the feedback and the whole issue.
All right, and okay, it's fine. So that'll come whenever it comes. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any
Yeah, I had a
other?
few. So I have the same one about it says December 3rd coming back, but I guess we should
It'll
just.
come when it comes.
What comes December 3rd. On the action list, number 113, 114, these are responses by the acting mayor. It says response to be circulated. I don't know that I saw those. What do we mean by to be circulated?
Sorry, did you say 113?
113, 114.
Page 8.
Yep. It says completed response to be circulated.
Yours on the right hand
I
side.
responded, I didn't see the circulated part of it, but I can certainly do that.
All right, that was just, right, okay.
I don't recall, was that their last one?
Well, this is the minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, I don't recall anything about it being circulated, just that it had been finished.
I think it was mentioned last meeting. Just,
That you were just gonna circulate it to council?
Oh, sorry.
Shame again, Councillor John.
It was fairly unexpected.
Okay, so what's
but
the action here for
circulate.
I'll
circulate?
circulate that when I get home this evening.
Okay, well, or, Shame is always good. There we go.
I,
So if you could just circulate it, that'd be great. Done?
I don't even have my phone with me now, so I can even attempt
You got
to
what
try to
that
do
was,
it.
huh?
Yeah.
New Year's resolution already?
I forgot it, it's sitting on the kitchen counter.
All right, good for you. Should've left mine there too. All right, Councillor Abbott?
What was it? No, there was one more. Okay, I'm good. Oh, that was it, it was on the other page. The page 11 as well, further down corresponds, the last bullet, the air quality question from Ian Mackey. Says received mayor to respond. Did you respond or was I going to?
I responded and it missed a cutoff, so I emailed him back and it'll be in the next
Okay.
package.
Okay. That's fine.
We're good?
Yeah.
Motion to accept the minutes, or sorry, we're done on business arising.
Mhm.
All fine, all good. Next topic, unfinished business. CAO, you're at 104, but I'm gonna steal some of your thunder if you've done nothing. Sorry, if you're still working on it.
I'm working on it. I received a response from the Squamish CAO, and she'll get back to me when she's had an opportunity to get feedback from her council.
Perfect. Good, I will add on to this later on. And you follow up with 115?
Yeah, that's still a work in progress.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Cunliffe?
Done. Essentially,
Oh,
timed
okay.
itself out.
Done, all right.
Yeah.
That's fine. And me for number 117, I was at Metro on Friday, and both the CAO and also Neil Carley are strong yeses on this. It's about us asking them when it's most convenient. So I think that's going to feed into our strategy in the bigger picture. So I don't think we have to respond specifically to the Metro 2040 letter, but their strong assurances are if we ask, they'll come whenever we ask them to come. So I would call that a strike. And for 118, which I sent to Councillor Abbott, I've responded, and that'll be in the next package. And that concludes that, and we're down to reports from staff, which goes to feedback by the EA.
So, I got an information report that essentially attaches the communications pieces that were popped in everybody's mailbox the first week, as well as being in the village update. And then second article in the village update, recapping and bullet pointing key points. Then followed by all of the feedback responses from the beginning through to agenda cutoff. And I don't think any more came in after that, did they? Yeah, okay. So what we had was 28 responses. We had 18 essentially in favor of borrowing. We had 7 that were not in favor of using borrowing for the third PRB, and 3 that were neither, didn't really say one way or the other, made a comment that, for instance, former Mayor Miller commented that it's really council's decision and council's role, and attached a piece that kind of spoke to that sentiment. Somebody else said something similar. So we have basically 65 in favor, 25 against, and 10% not applicable in one way, strictly speaking. Of course, it's not a referendum or an alternative approval process, or even not even a survey. It's essentially just, it's public feedback that goes to the question that is raised in the report that follows, which is also my report, and which speaks to the issue at hand, which is borrowing from reserves, or sorry, MFA borrowing, or utilizing reserves for funding of the third PRV. I guess I should pause and let council consider and deal with the information report, sorry.
Thank you, CAO. I had the same count, although I counted husband and wives as 2, so mine was 24 for, 8 against, and the 3 that had different answers for the question we asked. What I did observe is that many of the emails were not redacted in this document, page after page after page. So we'll take that as a learning experience and leave that alone. I thought that the broad-ranging community got it, and I think for those with lengthier emails had a point of view. So to my colleagues, any other feedback before we go on to the decision? Councillor Bain?
Excuse me, we brought up the subject last night in addition to the agenda for the infrastructure committee. And the members of the committee, consensus was to endorse the moving on and going ahead with PRV. But we avoided the subject of how to pay for it. Leave that to council as one member's comment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we could add to that, they endorsed it based on safety, which is, for them was the deciding point. Pointed out there wasn't needed for anything else. We could get by what we had for anything else. But one other question that did come up was, is this PR, we have a design for 2 PRVs but not this one? So how do we add it to this? Do we have to go get this one designed before we add it?
No, if I may,
Please.
the design that was done by AECom is a standard typical design. We asked for that when they did the design. So it's a template that we can use for all of our
It's
PRs.
a typical detail, so you
Correct.
get 3 of the same rather than 2, with obviously some sizing specs.
No, the project for the 2 PRVs, so the Upper Bayview PRV is a typical PRV. The mountain control valve is not a typical PRV. That control valve is the valve that allows water to automatically transfer from the Harvey side to the Mag side via SCADA control, so it's not our typical PRV.
But it is designed.
But it is designed. Bayview, the design for the Bayview School PRV is the same as the mountain, as the Upper Bayview PRV. Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Public Works Manager. And Noel, Nicole, when you're doing the minutes, if in conjunction with the CAO, I think if you could flesh out as much detail as that as possible, so we can cheat and send it off to the IC when the time comes, so that they know what we know. Thank you very much, and I think we're ready to move on to the next piece, unless, so, a motion to receive. Thank you, all in favor, good, and thank you. CAO?
Okay, so the, so I was mentioning the report sets out the, the resolution that was passed at the November 5th council meeting, wherein council resolved that both the Bayview PRV and Mountain Drive PRV be funded through the balance of the CWW grant and MFA borrowing, and that the third PRV adjacent to the school be funded via MFA borrowing, subject to public feedback. So we've seen what that looks like, and as well, the points that are highlighted on, sorry, page page 18 of 103 really come down to staff's recommendation that council ought to proceed with borrowing for the third PRV, notwithstanding the previous statements that were made in respect of only borrowing when there is grant funding available. Grants are becoming, unfortunately, smaller, more competitive, more difficult, and I don't think we can count on them going forward. There's a lot of things in the infrastructure master plan that are going to need to be funded without grants. These include roads, bridges, storm culvert replacements, sidewalk installations, zone water metering, water main construction, rail crossings, and more. And we don't have significant reserves compared to our infrastructure deficit. Reserves, of course, for the most part, can be used for almost anything. The loan authorization bylaw can only be used for those things that are stipulated within the bylaw, this being one of them. So staff recommendation is, notwithstanding the open-ended nature of the recommendation in the report, is to use MFA borrowing when it's available and save our reserves for emergencies and all the infrastructure projects that won't get grant funding. That's about it.
Thank you very much, CAO, and let's get right to the discussion. It's on page 41 of 104 is the recommendation. Should it be become positive? Resolution number 9 item in the agenda is where we'll be going to after the committee stuff. I'll begin, Paul. I put forward that the third PRV adjacent to the school be funded via MFA borrowing. Can I have a seconder? We'll go to discussion. Thank you. Discussion. Open the door on this one. Let's all editorialize. We've already seen the data. I think we knew what the recommendation was before we saw the data. And here we are here. And CFO, I think there's some urgency in this, isn't there?
Yes.
In terms of paperwork.
Well, in terms of paperwork, the grant application is being submitted. They're just waiting for the resolution. That's the last piece for the amount. But everything's due at Metro by December 16th.
Okay. Thank you very much. Further discussion? Yes, Councillor Bain?
This is kind of an awkward one to bridge because I don't know where the boundaries of our discussion tonight could be. I don't think
I think other than the number,
Hmm?
I think other than the number, everything's up for grabs.
Other than the number. How about a funding source?
Other than the capital cost number.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk about the number.
Okay, good.
But I guess it's not a slam dunk for me. Like, I see both sides of the argument on this one. And we've even said that we want to keep our reserves for non-grant funded items, which this one actually is. So I don't think either side is wrong. The key, I think, is what is the best for the community. And I'm quite honestly struggling with that. And I was leaning towards the borrowing, but then, if I can say most delicately, we have another funding source coming to us in an unspecified amount of time, which,
I don't think you need to say any more.
thank you. So I'm thinking that we're not going to, if we do go ahead with drawing from reserves, the reserve amount would be covered quickly, relatively quickly, and we wouldn't be any worse off than we are today. So my preference is not to borrow money, because when you borrow money, you end up costing more in the long run. And if we can afford to buy it now or pay for it with reserves, and we're not taking a significant hit on our reserves because of the new funding coming in, maybe that is a better idea. I'm kind of flip-flopping, if I can be quite honest.
I believe the potential source you're talking about is somewhere down the road. And I think we need to move on our paperwork prior to that. Is that correct, CFO?
Yes.
If we go to bottom.
I think
Can
we're
I-
talking, go ahead.
Interject here. I think that it's important to also bear in mind that there's another project that's moving forward that could also look to that for
Right.
funding. So, can't pay for both.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
that's the trouble, there are no wrong answers here, and, you know,
Well, one way or another, it's gonna get used.
yeah, right.
We could pay for both.
No. Don't think so.
We're told we had $2.5 million worth of reserves in a previous council meeting.
Well, we could move to closed and discuss it in more detail, but I don't think so.
I think,
Okay,
Council, let's bury that one if that's fine.
sure, I
think
only
we
referred to
all-
was on the table
Well,
and here previously.
It's a fairly sharp edge we're walking on here, so.
I still believe we should be using the money we have. I think there's lots of good reasons. I think, the loan interest amount is not inconsequential. There'll be, we can go get loans every 6 months. There'll be another opportunity to go get a loan. One of the pieces of correspondence that kind of hit home to me was one of the people that wrote in opposition that had very thought out kind of thoughts. And this one hit home to me is that we tax to do stuff, we should spend the money we tax. Putting it in it's not his words, these are my words, putting it in a war chest that sits there for future is not accurate, is not fair, and not reasonable. The people that pay for it now should get the benefits of it now. So I still believe we should spend where we can, and we should tax as we need to fix things. Whether that includes loaning or not, but I think we should first spend reserves before we loan. And as this one wasn't part of that original loan authorization, my opinion is unchanged. I guess I'm with the 8 or whatever we're in favour. Not in favour, should I say.
Right. Councillor Cunliffe, Councillor Barmer, you want to weigh in, or are you ready to call it a day here?
I know how I feel, so.
Councillor Barmer?
Yeah, I tend to want to defer to the experts on this stuff. So to me, that's the CFO in terms of her recommendation on how to proceed with whether we take on the loan or whether we draw on reserves. And her recommendation was quite clear to me. Technically, we've got feedback from the IC committee and from Public Works that this thing needs to go in. So it's not a matter of if, it's just how we pay for it. So I would have to defer to Pamela's expertise.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion before I call a motion? So the motion, which has been seconded, is to that the third PRV adjacent to the school be funded via MFA borrowing. I'm calling the motion. All in favor? All opposed? I am for. Motion passes. Which brings us to,
So just for the record, what was the vote?
3-2.
3-2.
Opposed yourself and Councillor Bain.
Oh, I abstained, I didn't put my hand up.
I thought you were up.
I thought you did.
Had my fingers right here.
I'm thinking more vertical than that. Well, okay, I think if it's a no vote, it's presumed as a yes, I believe. Is that, am I on good ground?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Fair enough.
So who am I recording as opposed?
To re-poll, it would be positive is McLaughlin, Barmier, Cunliffe, and Bain. Opposed is Councillor Abbott. Okay, thank you. Which is the pesky mayor's got a bunch of stuff. I will whistle through this. Thank you very much, CAO, for reaching out to your colleague CAOs.
Sorry. You bought one?
Sorry?
One.
I apologize, we were jumping ahead to your reports.
I thought we did the decision, which is,
I also have, sorry, did we also move in second
Oh,
to
sorry.
add a resolution there?
oh, sorry, and the staff made, thank you. Sorry, and that's secondary motion, and the staff takes all required steps associated with this direction. I'll put that forward, secondary, thank you very much, otherwise it would have been hard to start the mechanism when we realize that tomorrow. Can I have a seconder on that motion? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Abbott, yes? Thank you. All right, thank you very, Nicole, a round of applause for that. It would have been embarrassing to have council meeting called for Friday to pass this. Thank you. All right, you can take the evening off now, that's great, good. No.
Who's taking minutes?
Yeah, now this,
Number 3 is
Number-
Kelvin Grove one WWTP update from the public.
Oh, yes, thank you. Calvin
Sorry,
Grove,
I must be getting myself confused. Did we just have 2 resolutions there or 1?
yes, we actually missed, I looked at the recommendation off the CAO's report, and I missed the second one, which Nicole picked up on.
Okay. So I'm opposed to the borrowing, but I'm not opposed to the CA
To the mechanism.
doing their job because they have to do
Yeah,
their job.
thank you. Yep, we're good there. So you recorded Public Works Manager.
So-
Where are we at with the KG plant?
Based on the feedback from the IC, discussions with the CAO and our engineer on record, we've decided to go with an RFP that does not necessarily hold us to low bid. The document has been rewritten. It's been run by our engineer. We can't issue it until we get the ministry's bypass permit, because the bypass permit will have strict requirements on monitoring and sampling. So right now, we're hoping to get that permit by December 11th, at which time we'll post the RFP.
With the close of January
6th.
quick,
Yeah.
Possibly.
thereabouts.
If we get a request to extend, we will
It's only a week.
consider. Hey?
It's only a week in the construction industry, right?
Yeah, because
I-
of Christmas.
Because of Christmas, I would,
Leave it open?
I thought
at
it was slow down
least
now.
2,
Everybody's going
you're
away.
not going to get a good bid on that. You run the risk of not getting good bids if you do that over Christmas.
So your recommendation, Councillor Abbott?
At least a week into the new year if that's the timing.
So we'll say the 10th? I don't know what the 10th
We'll
falls.
figure it out and
Okay.
push the
It's right.
date a little bit.
The Monday after the New Year's, the 6th, whatever, we past that.
Again, Nicole, if I could ask you to maybe flesh out the minutes a bit more, because we'll recycle the stuff off to the IC so they can
Well,
see it
it's-
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good suggestion and
Well,
we'll
it's-
act accordingly.
Mhm.
I don't think it's really,
It's
it's not a
yours, we
resolution.
just gave you advice. Fine. Next one, it still batters up, the Ocean View Road Engineering Study. This was posed by the IC,
Sorry. I
where
missed-
we're, sorry. Ocean View Road Engineering Study, where we're at with that.
Hopefully, we'll get a report before the 18th of December,
Okay,
but staff will need to review that.
it's holidays then too,
Yeah.
so, yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
so probably not to the new year.
So that'll cycle back by mid-Jan, and we're IC meeting at the end of January, I think.
23rd, I believe it is.
Perfect, so do you expect to be back for the IC meeting for the 23rd?
Mhm.
Thank you very much. And again, on the IC, the members were interested in doing an infrastructure, from the infrastructure committee, article on our water, and I guess we're here. And I think that would be subject to them, Mr. Grevel writing it. He had asked that I provide some minor data, so he'll probably email you. And
I'm going to ask that council defer this matter to close. There's some issues that I'd like to bring up and discuss with council
okay,
in the closed meeting.
thank you. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And thank you, Public Works Manager. that concludes the staff, unless I've missed my notes here. I think I have not. Okay, so the mayor. And this goes, because I had so many things, I haven't talked to the CAO today, but one of the things that I did do today was go to the Joint Mayor's Council and RCMP meeting. And how come that's not coming up? Go, there we are. And therein is Brenda Butterworth Carr. Inspector Triance was there as well. And it's the first time I've seen her without her weapon. And she's more imposing when she's wearing heels, let me just say that. So she referred me to, let's call it a key person in the province, and her role is that. So substantially, she is Minister Farnsworth's police person.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out where we were on the agenda, and we kind of missed
GMA exchange.
LGMA exchange and more cell tower and cell timetable, although I think
Oh.
rightfully those things ought to be under your list in any event, not under staff.
And I will continue,
report.
that's where I drew the line, I'm sorry, thank you.
So perhaps we can have a motion to move those 3 items to your list? Is
Yes, so that would be the exchange, cell tower revenue, and the cell tower timetable. So we'll tack that onto the mayor's. Thank you very much, CAO.
So I didn't notice sooner.
I like a firecracker. Okay, so long story short, Inspector Triance, she came later, was sitting behind me, and then when there was a break, I went to her, I asked her about ASOD. I mean, we're trying to move the needle a little bit on this, and she pointed me to Brenda Butterworth Carr, who is behind me here, and here she was, substantially the head of the RCMP in British Columbia, and so she's now Assistant Deputy Minister and Director of the Police Services Division. And she was gracious enough to give me a few minutes over coffee and listen to our story, and seemed interested in the story. And the substantive part that I told her is that so far the village and the minister have basically been trading letters every 6 months. Gave her a quick skinny on the population and the road issues every day that we face. And she was interested in doing this, and she referred me to her person, who is Patty Doyle. And she took both my cards, and so I expect something back from her in the next day or two. But the substantive part of it was that she asked us to explore other options, maybe not ASOD. She said traffic lights. I said that wasn't going to work, and she talked about bumps or other stuff like that. Or was quite prepared to open a dialogue on it. So maybe there's different ways to skin a cat here. But if I figure at the very least, if we got back to the ASOD discussion, or at least in the working function of this.
Or perhaps, being somewhat new to the subject or the file, we could lead her through the mostly cons of the other ideas, so we get back to the...
Until we get back to where we want to go.
Was she aware that UBCM had
Supported it.
endorsed the...
I don't think she had. I want to keep some of the ammo dry, because I usually go with you carrying a high shield for me in these things, so I was kind of winging it. But the fact that she was receptive, wanted to have her assistant give right to me, and then we could go from there. So I thought we were doing better than not, so that's where we are with that. And I'll give you that, and Patty's name's in the back too. So when that comes to me, I'll give it to everybody else. Okay, the second piece is MLA Sturdy's. I think if you haven't, it's been circulated as open house. I'll go to that. Anybody else wants to go, you're welcome. He's been very quiet to the extent that I think even his executive assistant hasn't talked to me for 3 or 4 months. There we go. I think I don't think we've got any particular asks to him right at this moment. I mean, I don't think we've got anything outstanding.
Not that I-
No. Last one, next one up is the pianos. A lesson in asking and you will receive. I did get 5 offers of pianos. So, dear to my own heart, I have arbitrarily selected one of my neighbors whose wife recently passed away, and this will be a legacy to her with a minor plaque on the side, and it is in mint condition, comes with a light chair and stand. So, and I saw who the other people that were offering their pianos, and I kind of see some logistics. I'm going to guess, CFO, that when we make this decision, we're going to say goodbye to the old one, which will, the rest of us don't know how, need to know where it goes. But we'll arrange for the piano movers. I don't imagine this is a works yard type thing. And then we'll get one of the villagers come in and see whether we need it tuned or not. And that will be good for that. The other one, and I guess this is something that I'm going to, before I decline the other ones, although there was an opportunity for me to broker a piano to one of my in-laws, which I think is a conflict. I'm not sure, but I can make a reference. Is that I
Depends
had
if brokering is free or not.
free is, I'm helping the villagers here. The next one was the CFO, and she's been receiving my 40 or 50 odd budget requests. One of my ideas, and I've seen this in Vancouver, that there's a piano at high velocity bike and walking paths or in big common areas in Vancouver. So my thinking is that we could put a piano down at the beach for seasonally.
There's one outside of the city hall in Port Coquitlam too.
They're all over the place. I mean, if you go on the, inside False Creek, there's probably 4 of them all around the place, and you just find them in all sorts of things. So I would see that this is something, just thinking out loud, that we would do a pad, we'd probably do a minor canopy if we did, and probably a cover over for the periods that we decide, which would be June to September kind of thing. But I'm not going to pursue this unless there's somewhat of a desire by my council colleagues to go for it.
I say go for it.
Does it stay out all year?
No, just for the summer months.
So we get piano movers in twice a year.
Where will it live the rest of the year?
Beside one of the non-moving pieces of equipment at the Public Works Yard.
Does it need to be covered every night?
I'm sure we could find somebody, a villager, to do that.
But I doubt it.
Well, if there's a
I mean, it'll
canopy.
just get wrecked. Piano needs to be in a fairly stable.
Not so with probably the 100 that are in the Lower Mainland that are out there.
Yeah, like the one in Port Moody or Coquitlam is not protected very
No.
much. It's under a slight bit of, but if the rain's going like this, it's,
Getting wet.
In the evening, it's for a couple.
I think it's not meant to be virtuoso, like a pianist playing it, but for kids or anyone to go and tinker, I think it's great.
Perhaps that's where the one currently in the hall goes.
I understand
Not a
that the
bad
one
idea.
at the hall has got a broken rolling mechanism. A couple of the keys are missing, as are some of the pedals. So, as I reported in the article, it should be considered one of the fallen. I can see a strong mediocre, I'm not selling you. Okay, I tell you what I'm
I'm a
going to.
supporter of the arts.
I have a pianist in the house and it's beautiful, so I can't say enough about it. I think it's a great idea. I just worry about the actual instrument.
I think if somebody's willing to donate it and know exactly where it's going and they're comfortable with that, then
Okay,
We do have a 10 by 10 pop-up tent we can put over it.
that'd be fine. I'm sure we could probably find one of our grade 12s who's looking for community project work, who could take it over for a summer of babysitting. Does that resonate with you, Councillor Conlon, or am I going too far out
no,
here?
hey, if someone wants
I
to.
mean, they're
put a
looking for
blanket
community
out there
hours,
every night,
so
then
why
not?
Okay, tell you what I'll do, I will say goodbye to 3 of them, hang on to 2 for the moment, and we'll carry this on
Are they
our
in your
budget.
driveway?
Pardon?
Are they in your driveway?
Luckily, no. All right, thank you.
At least you
Next piece.
You can't get rid of an organ to save your life.
This
No
is,
one wants an organ.
all right. So the Metro wood burning apparatus, this again was back to last Friday. We will have a seconder for a motion that better favors us in February. I confirm that. And I've also, of the two members that were absent at the last vote, one of them said they would support us based on Lions Bay not just being exempted, but moving towards improvement on the wood burning apparatus. Which brings us to what is the sunset period. I left a message for Roger Kwan today. I reread the staff report, and it seems to imply, and Councillor Abbott, maybe you've got a different view, that the sunset period ended in 2025?
Well, the whole thing comes into force in 2025.
Okay, so there's...
If that's what you mean by sunset.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the drop dead.
Yeah.
So for us, we would need, if we're going to get an extension, then we, the council, need to figure out what it is that we're going to negotiate for. So I'll leave that with you now. I did speak with the Director for Electoral Area A, and I believe there's some movement there if we can come to a path where the sunset period is not overly extended. I now think we had quite the heart-to-heart in this. She's not happy with her own community either, and while she did not support us during this particular voting period, nor did she mention that she wanted her area to be part of the ban, she has since gone to Metro and started work towards them being conforming. So that's the news on that. The next one up was, I think I've got this right, was the exchange.
Sorry, can you just go back to that? So
Yep.
what is the plans to come up with this strategy, or, I mean, we're talking about going away for Christmas.
Well, I think, let's go backwards. We know that this Metro staff's report's gonna come back in February. We know that we're about to break for Christmas break, so between more or less our next meeting, should we hold it, and our last meeting in January, the collective council and staff's gonna figure out what we would do in terms of offering something if we were to entice the Climate Action Committee members to give us more than 2025. And I don't know whether the number is, I mean, certainly not, they're not gonna give us a complete exemption, but they might give us, instead of 5 years, might give us 8 years. So we have to decide whether that's what we wanna do, or do we just sit quiet and go for the 5 years? So that's everybody to be thinking for their 2020 plan. Are you fine with that, Councillor Connell?
Sure.
Alex, sorry. Looking at you. You two don't look alike, yeah.
There's a bit of a moment.
I mean, we need a plan.
Yeah, I just...
And that's more than we can handle right now.
That's fine.
Okay, done.
Then we're good.
And I'll have that on the agenda when I talk to the CAO where we can fit that in. Next one, this one's about the exchange, which is here, and it's got a lovely story on Oliver. And remember, you told us last time, and I forget what you told us, other than we're not featured yet.
Sorry, that what?
We were gonna have Lions Bay featured in the back.
You told me that we were going to have
Yeah,
Lions
it was
Bay
my
featured.
recollection.
Yeah? I'm going to be talking to you about that.
Okay, so it's a work in progress.
Yeah, we'll be.
Okay.
Pretty darn quick.
Okay. Maybe we'll get it. Okay, the next one was, next up was the cell tower revenue. Village Vanmore is putting up a cell tower, and they believe their revenue is going to be in the 50 grand range. And I'm not sure what they're doing different than us, but when I spoke to the mayor, I said would be fine if mine talked to yours, so if you could give Julie a call. And they're also using a lack of a better word, a middleman, a facilitator, and they seem that they like that number. So that's
Better number.
it's a better number, but I mean, I'm talking to the mayor. What does he know? So the next thing is I was thinking about the village update and the stuff that's coming on the cell tower, because the public feedback concludes this Friday, I believe. And so CAO, what to the best of your recollection is the next steps, or what are we council gonna see in likely January?
Yeah, it'll be January, I'm sure, before we receive the package of information that SBA will pull together in terms of all of the feedback that was received and the answers that were provided, or the responses that were provided by them, as they're required to do under the regulations. So when we get that, then it will come back to council along with a report from staff, and yeah, it's not in January at some point.
And so
That's
from your
guessing.
So we're gonna get some paperwork from them, which is gonna bring us up to date, and then what do you expect will be the next step after that?
For council to make a decision, go forward or pause, or, but I haven't got a report with options for you at this point,
Okay.
but.
All right, that's fine, thank you very much. Any other questions on this topic? Yeah.
Sorry, Sir, the report, last council meeting, I raised the question of could we reconsider whether we were neutral on this, and that was limited. It was going to come back to this meeting with some sort of understanding of what that would look like, whether we could do hard work contractually. So will that be part of the report, or will the report just be a recommendation whether we go forward or not?
No, I will bring back an analysis of that particular issue.
As a separate decision to whether,
And that may even, depending on circumstances, perhaps I bring that back in December, to the December 16th, 17th meeting.
so that we understand that before we go into the, I think that would be preferable.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, good, thank you very much. Any more questions on these topics? And I think that is it, which brings us to council, and I see Councillor Barmare, and if you could staff one of these?
Nye has a copy. Peter can have a copy. I didn't plan to bring it to today's meeting, but it's for information. Okay, so as far as the decision on the location, it seems we've settled on the corner of Cross Creek and Ocean View. There's municipally owned land. There's actually a nice space there. So with that in mind, we've got a couple of actions to take. And one of them is to complete the ESI form with BC Hydro, and we're looking at engaging an electrical contractor to help us with that, to fill out that form, and sort of get the ball rolling on the BC Hydro end, which would, it's very likely that that location is perfectly adequate. We just need BC Hydro's blessing. In parallel to that, we need to start looking at a site plan that we can float both with the public to show what it'll look like, and to facilitate an RFP going forward, because we do need to issue an RFP for this project at some point when the grant comes out. And so the site plan would be an integral part of that RFP. So the question that I do have a question for staff, is that whether there's any survey data available for that location, or whether we need to do a fresh survey.
That's what we're still trying to actually
Through land titles, we're trying to.
Oh, perfect, okay.
It's a complicated little
Yeah.
piece.
Okay,
there.
so that's
And,
a key element to the next
yeah,
step.
an ugly looking title, so
Yeah.
we're trying to extract the information without too much expense.
Yeah,
And I think I had already previously indicated, I haven't got an ironclad answer, but I'm quite confident that the RAR is not applicable, so.
yeah,
But I would like to just lock that down.
okay.
And the survey, we're trying to pull that.
Okay, the survey would be really key. We can get a survey done, obviously,
Yeah.
of the area also, with just additional expenses which we'd like to avoid. And so then it would involve getting, so once we have that survey information, we get an architect involved, and they would, for relatively reasonable fee, get us a site plan. that we can then advance more technically with the IC committee or get it evolved, but we do need a first cut at the site plan.
Sorry, who would do the site plan?
We can get an architect to do that for maybe $1,800. Give us a site plan. The same architect that did the preliminary sketch for us in the View article pro bono would be willing to help us out. Or if you guys have your finger on an architect.
So shall we?
Me too.
So Councillor Barmayer, if you could zero down on your asks and a potential timetable?
So if we could get the survey before the end of the year, if that's reasonable, then we should be able to have a site plan in January that we can float and present to council.
To staff, does that seem reasonable? Okay, nods? Yeah, okay, so.
Sorry, did I hear you say the words pro bono?
They did the pro bono layout for us for the View article. So they're familiar with the village and they're also, they're just good at what they do. They're interested in this kind of project.
Okay.
But they would not, it's unreasonable to ask them to do this next step pro bono because it's a bit of effort, quite a bit of effort. So,
Okay,
yeah.
you got what you wanted? Good.
Was it reasonable to get that site information within by the end of the year? Is that reasonable to
survey?
ask? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Any, give some latitude, any other councillors want to cover anything before we go to committee? Good, thank you. Committees, IC, Councillor Bean?
Well, Councillor Barmeyer has pretty well addressed the first one I had. Second one's being pushed off to close, and the third one, we're going to talk about the endorsement by the IC on the PRV. Neville, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, it was just a question whether one of us, it's me, if I would respond to the letter that was addressed directly to the IC on this. Except it's handwritten, and I don't know the man's name. I guess I could walk down and knock on 340 Kelvin Grove Way and stick something under his door.
Well, actually, to help you, I tried to find him in the phone book. I couldn't find him. And other than having my internal secret police telling you what his P.O. box is, you can write it.
So I guess we can't really answer if we don't get a hold of it. You know, 340 Kelvin Grove Way, George Surf. No? I don't know. Okay, it was an idea.
Okay, so that's with you then. Thank you. Which concludes the committee reports, emergency services. There being nothing here, but to those of us who received Robert's email, let's respond to that if we're going to. Which brings us to item number 9, the resolution, and I'm not sure which of you are taking this on.
Me?
CFO.
So this would be the resolution that we're required to have the borrowing. It's submitted to Metro. So it would be this resolution, and given the fact we would be doing 3 PRVs, the amount would be $600,000. So it's this resolution for $600,000 that council approved borrowing from the Municipal Finance Authority of British Columbia as part of the 2020 spring borrowing session. $600,000 as authorized through Infrastructure Master Plan Financing Loan Authorization Bylaw number 508/2016, and that the Metro Vancouver Regional District be requested to consent to our borrowing over a 20-year term and include the borrowing in their security issuing bylaw.
Good, and you've got your previous motion with all required steps associated with the direction, so this is it. Can I have somebody put forward the motion? I will. Can I have a seconder? Any discussion on this? This is the mechanics to push the button.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find that. Is that written in the agenda?
No, I left it blank because it refers to something we talked about in closed.
Oh, okay.
So that was the amount that we had identified at a prior meeting, that was the amount we needed to borrow to fund 3.
Okay.
Okay, good, Councillor Abbott? Nothing on that one, okay. Okay, we're second, any other discussion for the CFO? Call a motion, all in favor? Councillor Abbott?
Opposed?
Opposed, thank you, carried. Next up, bylaws and CAO, you've got something on the table that goes with this.
Do you want to just pass it?
Thank you.
Actually,
This is in place of what's in the minutes?
pardon me?
This is in place of what's in the agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Ah, thanks.
So pick up the thin one. This is the amending bylaw. And you'll see the track changes in blue versus what it looked like at second reading, after second reading. So what we are looking at doing here, recommending be done, is that we amend the section to do with the demolition permit fees, which is Schedule 2. And if you want to look at the consolidated to see what that looks like presently, that would be on page 9 of the consolidated bylaw. So basically, it enables us to charge an appropriate and reasonable fee if someone is demolishing less than a full building. So if they're tearing down half the house, it should be half the building fee. Kind of do it proportional up to 75%, because it's 75% under Local Government Act, under certain provisions, that's basically you're destroying the destruction of the whole building. And we also have a cutoff at 75 for fire sprinkling. So if you're 75 or more, then you get charged the full fee, which is $1,000 for demolition of a building. The other amendment that we're recommending is with respect to Schedule 5, and that's traffic and parking fees, essentially. So towards the bottom of the page, a bit of clarification with respect to our daily fee for having a dumpster for construction waste, which is $35 per day. So we want to add the words per day. And we want to clarify that to say, upon approval of the Public Works Manager, daily fee for temporary placement of a moving container, a disposal container, or construction material on a highway. So we do get occasionally requests from people to have a moving trailer, like a cargo shipping container, outside while they're trying to move in or move out, generally for 2 or 3 days kind of thing, and we've always accommodated those. They kind of fit within this same sort of fee structure, and I think that's what we've utilized previously, but it wasn't sort of clear on its face. So that's the intent of that. And then below that is an addition to the list. So what I've got is, upon approval of council, placement of an office trailer, storage container, or other similar chattel reasonably required in respect of a building permit, $300 a month. So we do get requests, and actually I should have, I forgot to do it, I'm sorry, I forgot to add as an item to today's agenda a request from the owners of 52 Brunswick who are constructing their new house. They got a storage container there now,
Correct.
and they want to replace it with more like an office trailer.
Correct.
And so we don't really have provision that kind of addresses that in our bylaw. We do have sort of the extraordinary vehicle provision in our parking bylaw, but it's not really a trailer in that sense, like a horse trailer or other kind of trailer that we've dealt with before. This is more or less related to a building permit. So it is, you know, enabling a structure temporary as it may be, it's gonna be there for, 6, 8 months. In this case, is that what their estimate was, Nye?
Yeah.
Potentially, building permits can be as long as 2 years. I started off suggesting this could be 6 months renewable, but I think that in each case, we're gonna have different situations. And I felt that, well, for the first one, it's something that the public works manager can handle in conjunction with the building inspector. For this one, we're talking about something that's sort of in your face in a neighborhood for an extended period of time. The other parking a trailer on the street provisions come to council for dealing with, and so I think that this one also ought to come to council. So that's why it's there and worded like that. And the fee is, if you were doing $35 a day, that would be $900 or $1,000 a month, I guess, about. So this is quite a bit less than that, but it's not insubstantial or unsubstantial. But I think it's probably about right for those who feel the need to have an office trailer or a storage container for tools and things of that nature while they're constructing. Open to council feedback on that one.
So this would be an office off the property,
Just
off the road, possibly in the road reserve or something like that.
Most builders, developers do have an office trailer or a tool storage trailer, but they're able to put it on their own property during construction. This is for placing it on our property during construction.
So, right?
So is this coming up because the sites are constrained or because they're mostly sloping sites? It's hard to locate a trailer?
This
Yeah,
one
that makes
is,
sense.
yeah.
Because typically, construction is constrained to the site. It's not
Mhm.
really, doesn't really spill over into neighboring properties. Okay.
Is there a mechanism to ask neighbours?
There isn't
Isn't.
in here, and there isn't with respect to the other provision for extraordinary vehicles and trailers. At the moment, there isn't, that's all I can say. I don't think that the fee bylaw would be the right place to put that. So if you want to go in that direction, I think the direction would have to come from council to staff to come back with some kind of provision in the traffic and parking bylaw. If it's on our highway right away, and in the zoning bylaw if it's on their property. Because right now, the zoning bylaw does provide for someone to have a structure like this on their land during construction. This would address the fact that there's no fee currently attached to that in the zoning bylaw. Right now, you could just do it if it's on your property.
But this is only going to be, fees only going to be levied if it's off the property, right?
This is if it's on our highway.
On our-
Yeah. Or on private property. I haven't specified either one, actually. So it can apply to either, because the impact to the neighbor is pretty much the same, especially in some neighborhoods like Brunswick Beach, where our highway actually looks like somebody's property. So for this, I think that regardless of whether it's on highway or the person's own land, there's still an impact to the neighborhood.
So I
Arguably,
think that's where
anyways.
I would disagree. I think that there should be an impetus to move people off the highway. So if there's a fee, it should be only if people are putting it on the highway. We should be motivating people to constrain their construction activity to their personal property. Because I guarantee this will be the first thing people do. If they're gonna pay to put it on their land versus on our land, it's gonna end up on the highway. Because it just gives them more room to work with. They're not gonna get creative in how they accommodate trailer or a dumpster.
On some
That-
sites,
That would be my feedback on that. I just,
So you suggest it's free if it's on your property?
Yes.
If you want to put an alley in,
You
it's a
pay.
fee?
because otherwise you're not going to encourage people to get creative on how they constrain their activities, because they'll just spill over, they'll park everywhere, they'll put material work. $35 a day isn't a lot of money if you're building an $8 million house. That would be my only fear, or reservation.
well, I hear you. I mean, some building sites, though, you're never gonna be able to do it,
That's why you pay.
That's what you pay.
Yeah.
I agree.
especially in Brunswick Beach. So we could have, with that in mind, we could have different fees. If it's on your land, it's $100 a month. If it's on our land, it's $300 a month, or whatever price, differential price. I don't know whether that would provide an incentive, sufficient incentive for people or not. I think for some, it definitely would. I don't know.
So it doesn't, it just say that's, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one, it says on the highway, but
Yeah,
that
it's
was
the
for the
previous one.
$35, yeah.
Previous one is definitely use of our highway right of way, and for that, we charge $35 a day. And maybe that's what we should leave it at for the second one, in terms of if it's on our highway. And whether or not council wants to charge a fee if it's on their own property. The incentive, the reason for doing that would be an incentive for them not to have it there any longer than absolutely necessary. So maybe something to look at it.
Alrighty then. Councillor Bromere, do you want to put forward a motion that fits with what you're looking for there? I mean, it would be along what's behind you in 10A, amended as you want.
So E2, I think that reads fine. E3, I mean, this isn't my decision to make, but I would suggest we only charge a fee.
So you're putting forward a motion, as shown here, amended by,
What's shown there?
that's the primary motion, A.
Not the one on the screen above you.
That's right.
The motion is to just get it.
Okay, you're
third
challenging me
reading.
here with language, because I know what I want to do, but I may not know how to say it properly.
Just say what you want to do.
Say
So
you
what I
wanna
want to do, I think that the on-table amendment, E2 is fine. E3, I would argue that the fee is appropriate for highway, but not private property.
So no fee for
No
private
fee for
property?
private property would be my recommendation.
Okay, seconder? Discussion? Councillor Abbott?
Yeah, I'm not kind of more concerned about this. If someone puts one on his own property, it can stay there forever, but it can't. I mean, it's not part
No,
of the building thing. We don't allow it.
The zoning bylaw restricts
That's
it,
it, yeah.
so it restricts it to the period for which person has a building permit
Right.
or a site alteration permit.
So there is a mechanism to make sure
So,
that
and
it's
there,
linger.
there's provision in there for the building inspector or the public works manager to say, hey, don't think you really need this here anymore. It's not imperative for your building permit or reasonably necessary for your building permit. So time to get it off. They can appeal that decision to council. So there's an opportunity for them to do that, but that's sort of the restriction.
Well, as long as we have a mechanism for that already, then it's fine.
You're supportive of Councillor Bromere's motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to clarify the motion, the fee for which a person would be charged to have an office trailer, storage container, or other similar chattel reasonably required in respect of a building permit would be $300 per month, or the $35 per day that was in the previous one?
Fee is fine, I have no comment about the fee itself.
The fee that's here,
Yeah,
$300 a month?
yeah.
Okay.
Very good, CAO?
Yeah, so it's
Not to overcomplicate.
motioned, it was seconded, I believe.
It was second, we're in the discussion
What if it
period.
was just like partially on it? Do we deal with it? It was partially on our property, it's on our property.
Then they pay.
Okay.
You're partially on the property, you're on
Yeah,
the
if
property.
it's on our land at all, it's fees payable.
Okay, give me another half minute to go wild here, Councillor. All right, I think I love a good fee by law. Everybody knows that for every month that we see it. All right, call a motion, all in favor? Passed, thank you. All right, brings us.
Sorry, so, can I have a motion that we add an item to the agenda in respect of the owners of 52 Brunswick Beach,
New
who
business?
are requesting, yeah,
352 Brunswick,
push it up to
new
business.
Okay. Call a motion, seconder please, second, all in favor, done, thank you. Which brings us to the emergency plan bylaw on your page 60, nope.
Sorry. We dealt with the recommended changes, but I don't think we had a motion that fees bylaw 497 amendment bylaw 567 be given third reading as amended.
Sorry. I presume that's what Councillor Boromir was doing, but we can do it again?
Sorry, maybe we did.
I think we did.
I don't have that. What I have is regarding adding the stipulation to the highway.
All right,
Yeah,
let's,
we have the amendment of
let's
the recommendation here, so.
okay, so should we just reload? Yes, reload. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning here then. So, fees bylaw number 497, 2016, amendment bylaw number 567, 2019, that fees bylaw number 497, 2016, amendment bylaw 567, 2019, as amended previously, be given third reading. Motion, second, any discussion? All in favor? Passed. Thank you. We won't make that mistake this time. Okay, the emergency plan bylaw number 566, 2019. So it's pretty straightforward. This is for the third time that emergency plan bylaw number 566, 2019 be read a third time as amended, and the amendment is in your documentation. Okay, I have a motion, seconder, discussion, CAO, anything to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right, yes, Councilor Bain?
What was the amendment? I don't remember. What was the amendment?
There was no amendment on this one. From the last
From
reading.
previous.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, hang on, sorry, it says.
It says, be read a third time as amended. There's nothing changes. I didn't see anything there. There's no remark there yet.
Hang on a second.
You want to pull it? Is there something?
There was, I think, something. Sorry, I think that what changed, and I'm not sure why we didn't got the track. Under paragraph 2, interpretation of page 70, I think the change was that because there's a new provincial act pending that will probably be adopted in the next few months, probably March or April-ish, the wording of this was changed to say, as adopted by the province of British Columbia, as opposed to the previous act being specifically cited. My apologies for not having
That's
that
right.
highlighted.
I
Pardon?
think the idea was to make it more generic, so we wouldn't
Yeah.
have to
Mhm. Yeah.
reissue every time.
Yeah.
By quoting specific
Well,
one, every
especially
time it
since-
changed, we have to amend them.
Especially since there was one coming down
Okay,
the
so
pipe.
we're in the discussion phase, so now that the change has been highlighted, so that would be with that amendment, now that everybody knows it. Any further discussion? Yes?
This may be thought to be petty, but some of the language here is changing. Emergency Program Committee, we've got
What page are you on?
on page 73 of 104, on 5.2 D and E, it's got the fire chief or their designate. Now, the petty part, I suppose some would think, is that there's a big push for us all to change our pronouns, and I just think it used to be his or her designate is what the normal term would be, and I just kind of wonder, do we even need a pronoun there? How about just say the fire chief or designate? And same with the ESS director or designate. And then over on 7.2, the chief administrative officer or designate shall be the emergency operations center director.
Yeah, I think the, we're down there in the weeds, but I think that the current sort of way things are going is, instead of saying his or her, you say their. There has become a pronoun for somebody, it's sort of gender neutral, more or less. This is my understanding. So I don't care really one way or the other, but I think that's why it's there.
Well, I know the federal government has been pushing to have gender neutral pronouns and dictate to us how we should speak, and there's a big pushback on that, and I think it would be a lot cleaner if we just deleted the pronoun so that we're not one side or the other on that argument
Yeah.
until it's settled.
Yeah, because it might not be a
Getting
his or
extra
her.
progressive.
I think the there was to get away from the his or her, but we can just say there, or sorry, we just say their designate.
Okay, thank you.
All right, want to make that amendment, Councillor Green?
If we could, if I can also add, it's a nice piece of work you guys have put out.
Okay. So for clarity, that's the motions in play as amended with the words spoken by Councillor Green and the CAO. Any further discussion? All in favor? Yes, and that is for the third reading. Which brings us to that happy time of the evening when Councillor Abbott has center stage to deal with the correspondence.
All right. So, number one on the list, a letter to Premier MVA modernisation. I was reading this, I wasn't sure what they wanted until I got to someone else's analysis. They want to lower the speed limit, I guess. I don't think there's any action for us. This is City of Sandwich. Intention of paying. I don't believe there's any need or action for us. Unless anyone else thinks otherwise. The second one on page 4 is a call for nominations, Order of British Columbia.
A legal matter, and the CAO's 2019 PMR and the CAO's 2020 PMR. PMR's Performance Merit Review.
And C, interjurisdictional matter.
ABC why don't we do, B is interjurisdictional and C is CAO. Jurisdictional matters. This guy's kind of a flavor to it, isn't it? Okay, so I think under the PMRs, we've got this covered in employee relations. Are we good with interjurisdictional and legal matters?
No, add 90 sub 2B,
90 sub 2B,
confidential information from a higher order of government.
thank you. And all the other parts, which is, I'm not going to read them all, the committee charter, 91 C, E, K, I, N, and 92B, as you just mentioned. Council does not anticipate reconvening the open meeting for any purpose other than to adjourn the meeting generally. Can I have a motion to approve the topics for going into closed? I'll never make that mistake again. Thank you. All in favor? Good. We will now go to closed. Okay, record. Hello, everybody. It's 9:45. We've come back from the closed into the open. And of the topics that were up for discussion, the one that we can report out on that was brought into closed was the Infrastructure Committee article on water, and we can advise that coming soon will be a joint article written by one of the Infrastructure Committee members and the Public Works Manager.